Hi everyone, welcome back. We are up to chapter 7 in our Notebook of Doom, book 2, Day of the Night Crawlers. And chapter 7 happens to be called Sword of a Big Deal. And you'll notice the word sword instead of sort of a big deal. It's the word sword of a big deal. So I imagine that there's going to be some type of sword, like a weapon, that pops up in this chapter. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used that word in the title. So here we go. "Wait up, Rip," said Alexander as he pulled on his gym shirt. You can see it says A. Bob. He's getting changed to get ready for gym. Alexander walked into the gym. Actually, it wasn't a gym. It was a hospital laundry room. Students had lined up near a row of washing machines. Everyone wore matching gym clothes, except for Nikki. She joined Alexander and Rip at the end of the line. And I can tell which one is Nikki because remember, she wears her hood all the time. This person looks like they have a hoodie on. "You wear your hoodie to gym?" Alexander asked. "Yes." Nikki jammed her hands into the hoodie's pockets. I have a condition." "What do you mean?" asked Alexander. Clang, clang. The students stopped talking. "What was that?" someone whispered. Alexander pointed to a square hole in the ceiling. "It's coming from the laundry chute." Bumpa, bumpa, boom! "Is someone up there?" asked Nikki. "Duh, Nikki," Rip sneered. "I bet that chute is Horsley's hidey hole." There it is. Something's coming from up here. A laundry chute is when you're up in another spot, higher up. You drop the laundry in it, and it goes right down the chute and ends up in the laundry room. You can see they have a basket there to catch any laundry that might come down the laundry chute. The clanging sound grew louder until, whoosh, a white blur tumbled through the chute. The blur caught a water pipe and flipped backwards through the air, landing on its toes. Whoa! Alexander took a step back. It was the masked woman he'd seen earlier. The class started clapping. "She's an acrobat," said Nikki. "Acrobat nothing," said Rip. "She's a ninja." The woman took a bow. Here she is. And if you remember, when Alexander went to the cafeteria to get the chalkboard, she was walking around with the principal. And the principal had made a comment about how Mr. Horsley had disappeared and she needed somebody to cover his job. "Good afternoon, students. I am Coach Gill." Her voice sounded wet and bubbly, like she was gargling mouthwash. "I'll be filling in while your teacher is on vacation." Alexander raised his hand. "But Mr. Horsley isn't." Coach Gill leapt across the room and landed in a crouch inches from Alexander. "Yes," she read Alexander's shirt. "Mr. Bop, were you going to correct me on the whereabouts of..." She took a raspy breath. "Mr. Horsley?" Alexander stared into Coach Gill's face mask, but all he could see was darkness. He also caught a whiff of her breath. "Whew, P.U. Someone had tuna for lunch." And there's the little lines that mean that her sticky breath is coming right out into Alexander's face. No," he said, leaning back. "Never mind." Coach Gill stared at Alexander a moment longer. "Today," she said, "you will be learning the sport of warriors, fencing." She wheeled out a laundry cart full of swords. "Everyone, take a practice foil," she said. "Once you've sharpened your skills, you may one day use a real blade like mine." Alexander tapped Rip's shoulder. "Doesn't her sword look weird?" And this is what a practice foil looks like. You can see it's got this ball on the end of it so that it doesn't hurt anybody. It says it's short and flimsy. And then you can see here's Coach Gill's sword. It says her sword is long and sharp. So the kids are all going to start off by using these. Rip didn't answer. He was busy swishing his foil around. "This is so cool! I can't believe we're sword fighting!" he yelled. Coach Gill flicked her sword, whack, knocking Rip's foil to the ground. "It's fencing, not sword fighting," she said. "Everyone, watch." She jumped up onto a laundry sorting table. "Stand like this and hold your foil like this." The students waggled their foils, which means they're going like this and they're bouncing them. "Terrible!" Coach Gill screamed, looking directly at Alexander. "You've got 24 hours to shape up. There'll be a quiz tomorrow. Class dismissed." Here she is up on the table. She sounds like she's pretty good with her sword. And it sounds like she's not very happy with the kids and how they're doing with their practice swords. Chapter 8 is called In the Loop. Here you can see Rip is still into using his foil. You can see Alexander's got one in his backpack. Nikki's here walking with them, and you can see that they are looking at all of the worms that are still on the ground. Chapter 8, In the Loop. After school, the sky was still partly cloudy, and the ground was still partly wormy. "There are a few night crawlers than there were before," said Alexander. "You're right," said Nikki. "I wonder where they—" Oof! She had stumbled over a mound of dirt. "Watch out for the molehills," she said, pointing to a second dirt pile. Rip walked behind Alexander and Nikki, swinging his practice foil. "It's so awesome we get to take our swords home." Alexander rubbed his chin. "Don't you think Coach Gill is kinda, strange?" "No way," said Rip, slicing at the air. "She's great." "But what about her mask?" asked Alexander. "She never takes it off, even outside of class." That's a little strange. "Coach Gill is a professional." Rip lowered his foil. "You wouldn't understand unless you were into sword fighting." "You mean fencing," said Nikki. "Eat worms, weirdo," Rip yelled. "Guys, stop," Alexander said. "Look!" He pointed to the sidewalk. Dozens of night crawlers had twisted themselves into a loopy squiggle. "Whoa," said Rip. "It's some kind of secret code." "That's no code," said Alexander. "It's fancy lettering. The worms are writing something." He squinted. "Can you guys read cursive?" "Nope," Rip said. "They don't teach cursive at Sturmont Elementary." "I can read it," Nikki said. "What?" Rip snapped. "If I can't read it, then neither can you." "Sure I can," said Nikki. "I learned cursive years ago." Rip cocked his head. "Years ago? That's baloney." "That's great," said Alexander, putting a hand on Rip's shoulder. "So, Nikki, what are the worms trying to tell us?" Nikki peered at Alexander from under her hood. And here is what the worms are saying. "Beware! The fish are coming." Beware, the fish are coming. And the worms are building it, which is kind of interesting because if you go fishing, you would put worms on your hook to try and catch a fish. Oh, and that is the end of chapter 8. So we shall see tomorrow what that message might mean. Beware, the fish are coming. Chapter 9 is actually called Fishing for Answers, which is a kind of catchy name. It means they're looking for answers. I think Alexander's going to try and figure out what that message means. All right, friends, I will see you later. Come back and we will start next time with chapter 9. Bye.